What does it look like for a man to walk in the fullness of influence, credibility, and authority? That's the subject of Ryan Michler's book, The Masculinity Manifesto. Today, I want to run you guys through 4 key points that I took away from this book. I got the Kindle version of it from my library and was able to read it. I really enjoyed it. I'm actually planning on getting a physical copy. 1, because I really liked it, and 2, because I want to support Ryan. He is the founder of Order of Man. If you guys haven't ever seen that channel or listened to his podcast, it is an incredible resource for men, by men, about men, on how to walk in more authority and credibility and influence and how to just become everything that God made you to be. And so I really recommend this book. I really liked it. 4 key things that I want to walk through with you guys, with just sharing some quotes from this book that I really enjoyed. So the first one was this bigger picture thing of what is a man. And there was 2 things that stood out. Ryan goes into depth and all of this stuff, and I'm not going to break down everything. You should just read the book, but I want to give you some of my top points from it. So the 2 things that stood out to me in the conversation of what is a man was a quote from Ryan where he said, "A boy consumes more than he produces. A man produces more than he consumes." And okay. Loved that. And then he shared a quote from a guy named David Gilmour. And David had said, "The real man gains renown by standing between his family and destruction, absorbing the blows of fate with equanimity." And I think that is literally one of the most stirring quotes I have ever heard in my entire life. So those 2 I loved, and they were easy ones to walk away from with me, of sitting here thinking about, okay, producing more than you consume, right? As opposed to consuming more than you produce, and then accepting the blows of fate with equanimity. I love that phrasing, and I love that idea of standing between your family and destruction and accepting the blows with equanimity. That's just like, yep, absolutely. That's what I want to be. I love that. So then when you look at the process of becoming a man, one of the things that Ryan said that I loved was he said, "Action without analysis is reckless. Analysis without action is worthless." Right? So you can't just know stuff but not do anything about it, but you can't just start doing stuff without having some kind of a plan and an idea in place, right? And I loved one of the things that Ryan said about why, he goes, people say like, well, why should I listen to you? You know, like, especially at the beginning when he was starting to launch Order of Man, you know, when you sit here and you're starting to try to preach these messages, people are like, well, why should I listen to you? What gives you authority to speak on this? And I love the way that he responded to this. He said, "Oh, but Ryan, what makes that man any more qualified to lead others?" the timid will gripe. "The answer is that he has the balls to do it. If you felt you were qualified to lead others, why did you sit around so long waiting for someone else to do it? For this reason, I often ignore criticism from the cheap seats. You'd be amazed how often someone who is doing less than I am has the audacity to scold me regarding the way I grow my business, lead my family, and attempt to add value to the world." And I love that approach. He's like, what makes me have any authority to speak on this is my willingness to speak on it, because no one else is. And I'm willing to put myself out there on it, and I'm willing to take a stand on it. And so that automatically gives me enough level of credibility to start, right? And I don't need anything else. And I love that. But overall, the biggest thing from this whole book that I took away from it was just this idea of you have to do the work. There is no shortcut. There is no easier work that you can do, and there's no thing that you can learn to avoid doing the work. It literally always comes down to doing the actual work. And I love what Ryan said. He said, "We've been led to believe that if we're researching a particular subject or reading a book on it, we're moving the needle. We're not. We may be preparing to move the needle, but that's different, important, but different from actually moving the needle. I thought I was being diligent in my pursuits, but I wasn't, not even close. I would spend my days pretending to be working. I'd read dozens and dozens of books and not apply any of what I learned. I would research how to make sales calls, how to start a podcast, how to be successful in business. I read article after how-to article, and I had the audacity to believe I too could be a success. I wasn't doing any work. I was passively letting opportunities pass me by as I deluded myself into believing that I was putting in real effort. Oh, that hit me so hard because that's a big thing on my heart. Because I love to read so much and I love to learn so much, I'm constantly trying to remind myself to not get caught up in just the learning and actually keep a focus on the doing and the applying and the doing the actual work. And I love what he says here he says, learn not to take so much pride in the results you and others produce, and instead reward consistency toward the desired outcome. That's been a thing for me so much, is looking at in all of my songwriting and all of my mixing and authoring and writing books and in making videos for YouTube and all this stuff. I'm constantly trying to change the view from looking at, oh, is this the best thing I've ever done? Or is this the most wonderful thing and whatever, to did I ship it? Did I ship it? Did I post another video? Did I write another song? Did I write another chapter of my book? Did I ship it? Did I ship it? Did I ship it? Did I ship it? And that's the only thing that matters. And if you do that enough times, eventually you will work your way up to being at a level where when you ship stuff, it matters and the things that you're creating matter. But if you get so focused on the making this thing perfect the first time, you never ship it. You never post the first video. You never post the first blog post. You never do any of that. And so it was just a good reminder to me in all the areas of life to accept the work that needs to be done with equanimity, right? And just buckle down and just be okay with doing it and let go of the results, let go of how many views things get, let go of how many comments things get, whatever, and just submit to doing the work on a consistent basis. And so that was by far the biggest message that I took from the book, was just this idea of you have to do the work. There is no shortcut to it. There's no different work you can do that's easier, and there's nothing that you can learn that will keep you from having to do any work. You always have to put in the effort. And then the last piece that I loved was just kind of big picture things. And they were talking about the internal battle. And so Ryan had said, if I hope to fix the outside world around me, I must first fix the internal world within me. And that is the biggest thing that God is leading me through right now in all of my life, is letting go of all of the external circumstances in basically everything and focusing on the internal issues and healing and restoration and building up fortitude in my heart and my heart attitudes. And I loved his chapter on violence and fighting. That's something that I know I've gotten very far out of and away from, and I really need to get back into. I want to start taking some jujitsu, because there's this part of me that needs to fight that I've been shoving down and I haven't been admitting and working with and embracing. And so his quote for it was, he said, "You don't want to be angry? Simple, fight more." And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so true, dude. Like when I was fighting consistently, I had so much less stress and so much less anger because I had an outlet for that thing, right? And so that was just a huge kind of kick in the pants for me of like, this is something that you need to keep working towards and keep pushing into, and never forget that what's happening on the inside, what's happening in your heart, what's happening in your head is far more important than what's happening on the outside, because those things are what lead to what happens on the outside. So you have to fix the inside first, and then the outside will take care of itself. If you fix the outside without looking at the inside, eventually you're just going to fall right back into the same old patterns, right? So overall, the biggest thing that I took away from this book, and my favorite quote of the whole thing, was he said, simply stated, if you want more, become more. If you want more, do the work to become more. And I love that. I love that idea. I love that mindset. I love that ethos. And that's what has proved out in my life to be the most useful piece of advice for getting what I want out of life. If I want more, I need to focus on becoming more. So if you need a book that will help you become more, I highly recommend this book by Ryan Michler. It was not one of my personal favorites in the like, oh, this is top 3 of all time or whatever. And I don't really have any particular reasons for that. It just was like, yeah, like I really liked it and it was great. But it is one that I could wholeheartedly recommend to anybody at any point. If it interests you, if you follow Ryan and you haven't read it, definitely go buy it because he's someone who deserves to be supported, and this message needs to be put out there. And he is someone who is doing a great job living the message and doing what he actually says and leading other guys in that same way. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've read the book. And if you did, what you thought about it. Let me know if you have any other recommendations for books like this. I'm always looking for good ones like that. And subscribe, like, all the stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.